Hello Weekend Warriors, welcome back to the workshop. And you see today my workshop consists of Photoshop. Only it's going to be Photoshop and a little bit more. This video is dedicated to Elvis Bessick and Lore Lau because they were asking questions on the Superman halftone separation. That video I did a year or two ago. And I've learned a little bit more since I did that. And I decided that maybe I should do another video and take care of their requests while I'm at it. So let's just go right ahead. Now, Elvis was asking me about doing a grayscale halftone print on a t-shirt. And he even sent me a link to an image. So I'm going to open that image I downloaded for him. And now what we have to do is we have to take this color JPEG and we have to get it down to a grayscale halftone. But before we do any of that, we're going to have to do a little work on the image as far as the size goes. Because it downloaded at a resolution of 72 pixels per inch. And that's just not going to be a high enough resolution. So let's bump that up to 300. Also, my chest isn't big enough to do a 26-inch print. So let's just bring that down to 10 inches because it's easy enough to do. So 10-inch width, 300 resolution. The height, of course, followed the width because they're linked together. And I'll say OK. Back out on that a little bit. Now we're ready to start playing with color and halftones. So we need to take this color image, we need to get it to grayscale. We do that by editing the image's mode and making it grayscale. Let's discard all those color settings. And now we have a grayscale image. Now when we bitmap something, which is the technique we're going to use this time, that generally ends up darkening the image up a little bit. So we're going to take our level adjustment and we're going to bring it into a range where we got a pretty good brightness on the image. And since that only happened on the level 1 mask, we are going to have to then flatten the image when we're done. So now we have a nice flat image. Now, in the other video, the Superman video, I did all my halftoning by using the filter. I went to filter, pixelate, and did a color halftone. And then set the angles and all that good stuff, and I went with a fairly small dot size. And I said okay, and when it came out, I did have a halftone image. However, because that is halftoning in a rosette form, getting the angles on the each color, it tends to distort or blur the image a little bit, and that's not what we want for this print. So let's get rid of that and go use the bitmap method. And to do that, we'll go to image and we're going to edit the mode again, and this time we're going to take it to a bitmap. And that'll open us a bitmap box. And the first page just says, what does your output want to be? Well, we're going to leave it at 300 pixels per inch. And what method are we going to use for the bitmap? Well, out of all these selections, we're selecting the halftone screen. Say OK on that. Now it wants to know how we're going to output that screen. And it gives us 3 settings. The line count, or the frequency, the angle, and the shape of the printed bit. Okay, and we've got, once again, a selection between brown, diamond, etc. Well, ellipse and round seem to be the 2 most used. I don't know enough about it all to really get into the discussion. I know round works, so I'm going to use round. The frequency of the screen. Well, this depends on the screen mesh you're going to use. The rule of thumb is generally the screen mesh divided by between 4 and 5. My case, my screens are going to be about 230 mesh, and I'm going to divide those by, say, 4.5. That'll give me a frequency of 51. Now what this is going to do, it's going to give me a dot size that will stay in the mesh. Too big a dot, you're going to lose detail in your image. Too small a dot, and you're going to blow that dot out when you go to wash your screen. So this 51 should give me a dot size that's going to stay on a 230 mesh screen and wash out enough that I get a good halftone print. The angle placed on the dot, if you go to one of Ryanette's videos for outputting CMYK screens, they'll explain all about the angle and 15-degree measurements. But basically, what it comes down to is you have vertical threads and horizontal threads on your screen, and those threads form lines. So if you put your dots in a orientation at 45 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, the base numbers for the angles that are already there, you're going to end up with unwanted patterns caused by those lines. And you'll get a little demonstration of that when we actually hit OK here, because this a computer monitor being a computer monitor, it has lines of trace and flyback, so it has scan lines in it, and it is going to interfere with the dots that are on this image. So let's say OK, and as soon as the image is complete here, all right, you can see the rosettes forming, even though there's no rosette pattern in this case. Let's see here. If I go out far enough, there's our nice clean screen. That's what it should print like. But as I zoom in and change the orientation of my dots to the fixed screen scan rate, that's when we start getting this other ugliness in the pattern. Hit it one more time and it kind of goes away because I'm outside that scan rate. And you see I still have pretty good resolution on my image, good detail. I'll move it over here. You see the burning vehicle still looks like a burning vehicle. And hopefully that's what the film will give you when you output it to your printer. Photoshop doesn't guarantee that it's going to give this perfect image out to a printer that can't handle PostScript. I've got HP printers. HP doesn't do PostScript. So I'm at the mercy of Photoshop's control, color control, and all that, speaking to the printer. And that can cause problems, and I'll show you a slight problem in a little while here. But if I get a good output to a printer, this is how my screen's going to come out, or how my print on the t-shirt will come out. So Elvis, there you go. There is your tank image in a halftone, ready to be output to film and then burned into a screen. So much for that. Now, Laura Lau was asking questions on 4-color process separations and the need for RIP software or not RIP software. Well, when we did it before, using the Photoshop pixelate filter, the color halftone filter that's built in, once again, the Superman print, it came out okay. It got the point across for the mixing of colors on the screen and all that, but it did not give me the best image. We can use this technique once again to do a 4-color separation, and then we can also use Adobe Illustrator and GhostScript and Ghost View to do an even better job of it. So give me just a second and I'll set that up, and we'll see how it turns out. Stand by. Alright, let's move on and do another 4-color separation. We're going to do it first in Photoshop, and then we're going to do it using Adobe Illustrator. So for Photoshop, let's do an open recent here, and we're going to pull up an Iron Man. We've seen this before, and it's a great demo for mixing colors, so what the heck. Alright, this once again is an RGB BMP file, so we need to change the color mode to CMYK, and just like we did last time, we go to Image, Mode, and CMYK Color. Now, I've been looking into color profiles, and it seems that some ink manufacturers and some of the vendor companies have got preset color profiles that you can download and put into Photoshop. But there's so many, I'm not going to bother doing that right now, and I don't see all the tones and colors to start with. So I'm not exactly the guy you want doing fine adjustments on anything, because who knows what color it will end up be. So I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to go ahead and leave it in the US coded swope V2 profile and let the cards land where they may. So there we go. I've now got 4-color process: cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And if I click on each color, you can see how it goes. Well, now in order to utilize, let's see here. I can't I can't exactly see everything because of the recording. There we go. In order to get the best halftone for each of these images, first thing I have to do is split the channels. So you come over here and you split the channels, and now it's going to give me an image for each color. And now I can go ahead and do the bitmap process on each of these. So I can come to the image, mode, bitmap, set the output, okay, set the frequency and the angle of the screen, and I'll go ahead and I'll start with the cyan at this time 22.5. Now the guy that sent me the films originally when I did the Iron Man print so long ago said he set his angles up at 15, 45, 75, 75. Some of the things I've been reading is start at 22.5 and go 15 degrees each from there. So there's no exact agreement on how to set this up. There is a lot of experimentation to find out what works. And that's what you would actually have to do. So I'll tell you what, let's just go ahead and set it up the way the original screens were set up. So call that 15. Okay. Come over here and do the whole thing again with the bitmap mode. Set the angle at 45. Okay. Mode, bitmap. Okay, 75 degrees. Okay, so there's all 4 colors set up as halftones in bitmap. And should be ready to go out to the printer. So it would be File. For each one, you'd go File, Print. Of course, you would put registration marks on the original. Make sure that you had registration marks on your new copies. You can also come over here to the control section, go to the output, and it will also put registration marks on for you, along with all these other things. If this was a PostScript printer I was going out to, I'd be able to go over to the color handling and select separations, and that would let me set angles and all that also. But once again, the HP printer doesn't do that sort of thing. So I am at the mercy of Photoshop managing the colors. So we're going to leave that be. Now for each one of these images, I would print an individual film. And as far as I know right now, that would be the end of it. Now there's all kinds of adjustments you can do, like I said with the color profiles. I haven't done any of that. I'm not good enough to do any of that just yet. So I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you how to do it. There's all kinds of other videos on YouTube that can help you along with that. So this is just the basics here. All right. Now I have actually already printed this guy out. Oops. All right, and here's another example of the moire pattern. If you watch it zoom in and out as it goes through the scan rate, or where the scan rate is setting up lines, you'll see a crosshatch come up. So just another example of that. Okay, I've actually printed this out, and we'll take a look at that print in a moment. But this is how you can basically do it in Photoshop, setting up a 4-color separation with halftones. Now let's go with the other method, and I'm just going to go ahead and exit out of here. Nope, don't want any of that, don't want any of that, or that, or that. And yes, I know, you think you're broken, but you're not. Alright, and let's come to Iron Man 2 again, and let's open him with Adobe Illustrator. And the only reason I actually have Adobe Illustrator is a customer bought it for me. I was doing a little bit of jersey design, and they liked the way I came up with the jerseys, but they said I could get my images for the printer or for the jersey maker so much nicer if I had Illustrator that they bought it for me. So that was awfully nice of them. Anyway, Illustrator will talk to, well, it will create PostScript files. So I can take Iron Man here, and I can go File, Print, and where it goes for my printer, I just tell it, print it out to a PostScript file. Now I can go out, if I want to set up registration marks, I can set up registration marks. I can take my output, I go to my output mode, select separations. It shows my image or my emulsion up, so that's the way that image would go down. The image is an image positive. It will go to my printer's maximum resolution. So you want to be able to print as fine as you can go. And then I can go through each of my my colors, cyan, magenta, yellow, and I can set the line frequency and the dot angle. So line frequency we said was 51. Matter of fact, since my originals were 37.5, and from Photoshop I actually printed at 37.5 just so we could compare apples to apples. But like I said, when these films got sent to me, one of the notes on them said they were output at 37.5 lines per inch, and the angles were 15, 45, 75, and 75. So we'll do it so it's as close to the original print as we can get. So I'm going to go out to a PostScript file, which will talk to my printer and tell my inkjet printer that doesn't do PostScript, well, pardon me, the PostScript file will talk to my RIP software, which will then talk to my printer to produce halftone images with the right line count and with the angles that we've selected here. So if I hit save, it's going to create my PostScript file. So on my desktop, I will have im2.postscript ps. Save that. It has output that to my desktop. I'll minimize that. Select that and open with Ghost View. Now, Ghost View is a visual interface for GhostScript. And this is actually GS View, which is a Windows version of Ghost View. So here we go. I have registration marks printed on the page. And there's cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Now when I print these, they're actually going to print as halftones. And what I will do this time is I'll print, and I'm going to output it to a do PDF. I'm going to create a PDF file just for the sake of seeing it here on the computer screen. I'm not going to touch my Windows. I've got my Windows printer selected. I'm not going to touch the settings. I'm going to print all 4 pages. Hit OK. Get this onto my desktop, and it's going to be ironman2.pdf. Save it and say OK. And now it's going to open that file for us. And there we go. So now I just have to get this to where I can see all the angles on it. There we go. And once again, we're seeing the reaction between my monitor's scan rate and the dots on the image. So there's, once again, cyan. Oops, I didn't mean to enlarge it again. I meant to move to the next page. Magenta. Yellow. And black. And as I go ahead and blow that up, and you can see halftone dots, nice round ones. It's ready to go. And I've actually already printed this, so let's look at the magenta page, the magenta outputs for both the PostScript output and the Photoshop output. Okay, on the left I have PostScript and Ghost View and GhostScript along with Adobe Illustrator. And you see it output nice round dots, good size. Everything looks nice and pretty there. On the Photoshop side, this line and this line and this line are actually not a product of the screen versus the image. They are actually printed this way. Thus the problem with just going straight out of Photoshop. So the better image for printing is coming from the PostScript file. Now I keep talking about GhostScript and Ghost View. GhostScript is a free raster image processor, or RIP program. That's what RIP means. It's raster image processor. There are expensive and fancy ones you can buy that will allow you to create absolutely gorgeous halftones. This one lets you create good halftones, and it lets you print a PostScript file to a non-PostScript printer. And that's the whole idea of the interface. But it gives me all 4 screens. It gives me my dots at the proper angles, we're pretty sure. And it's a lot clearer, a lot more in focus than, say, what we had with the Superman. So in a couple of weeks, hopefully, I'll be able to get back into the workshop and actually generate 4 screens once again and see what I get out of this process. Until then, that's about all I have for this session. So you all keep up the good fight, and I'll see you next time. If you have questions, don't forget to either email me or post them up on this video. I'll be more than happy to answer them. If you tell me I suck, I'll say you're probably right. So you don't have to waste your time doing that. So that's it. I'll see you guys when I see you. Bye.